Good evening. Wow, it's loud. I'd like to open the regular city council meeting of February 27th, 2023, and ask that Sergeant Hakame please lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I'd like to call the score Captain Fernandez to the pledge.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This time I'll ask City Clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Garner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe, Councilmember Venable,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan,
Here.
Mayor Beaver.
Here.
Mayor, if I could.
Sir.
Staff does have two items that we are going to request the city council add to the agenda for tonight's meeting. I'll turn it over to the acting city manager for the first one, and then I have the second one.
Before we do that, I'm going to announce something real quick. So in order to allow for a more orderly public meeting, and in keeping with state and local law, the public meetings of the City of Yucaipa Council will from here on out be conducted with order and civility in mind. Any person who disrupts, disturbs, or breaks up this meeting will be asked to leave under Section 4.4 of Resolution 2021-12 regarding rules of procedure for city council meetings. Disrupting the meeting includes speaking out of turn, stamping feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations such as clapping. This is a public meeting that will be conducted with civility and decorum, not a sporting event where each side of an issue tries to be louder than the other. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be strictly adhered to. After consulting with city staff and reviewing City Ordinance 2021-12, Section 5.4, staff has confirmed that rules prohibit sharing or ceding of time. A copy of the rules has been placed in the back table for those interested in reading them. All persons coming before this council will be treated fairly and with respect by the council members and by the members in the gallery. Moreover, this council will be treated fairly and with respect. No heckling, yelling out, or interrupting will be tolerated. This will serve as the warning that is required by law. Failure to adhere to the city council's adopted rules of decorum may result in the person disrupting the meeting being escorted from City Hall. And with that, I will go to Mr. Preciado.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor. After the preparation of the agenda packet for tonight's meeting and posting of the agenda, city staff did receive a request from the city of Calamasa for city council to consider an item, and staff is respectfully requesting that an item be added as a first item under department reports titled Letter of Support, City of Calamasa Community Project Funding Request for the County Line Road Improvement Project.
Thank you, sir. And you want to do this during department reports as number 9A? Is that what we talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. City Attorney?
So Mayor, that would require the 4 affirmative votes of the city council to add it to the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion to add the letter of support for the City of Calamasa?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The item from the city attorney's office is under closed session. It'd be under Government Code Section 54957, Personnel, Evaluation of the City Manager. The City Council had directed a background investigation of the city manager candidate be conducted. That investigation was done sooner than we thought, came in after the posting of the agenda, and I believe the City Council will probably want to hear the results before the city manager starts his term on March 1st. So I'm asking that you add it to the closed session agenda. That'll also require affirmative votes. And I'm also asking that you actually move it to the front of the agenda so we can immediately have that presentation given to you.
Is the presenter present?
He is.
Okay. Okay, so we have a request to add a closed session agenda item and move it to the front of the agenda. Is there a motion to support?
I'll motion to support.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. At this point, folks, we will,
Mayor, before you recess, I would recommend that you ask if there's any public comment on the closed session item that we've just added.
very well. Is there public comment for the closed session item relative to the city manager's background investigation? So we will do that closed session at the end of the city council meeting? Would you like to wait? Say again?
No, just,
No, just the city manager's background investigation, ma'am. You need to come down here just so that the people listening from home can. Okay.
Kathy Sellers, District 1. Regarding the background investigation that was conducted on Chris Mann, I would respectfully request that to whatever extent it can be, the public would like to know what that has in it.
Mayor, I would be able to briefly respond if that's okay.
Certainly.
We do intend to release a significant public report.
Thank you.
Any further public comment relative to the background investigation on city manager candidate Chris Mann? Hearing none, I will recess to closed session.
We're going to close session.
We'll be back.
Oh, that's interesting.
We'll return to order, coming out of closed session. And Mr. City Attorney, do you have something to report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The city council did authorize me to release a brief verbal summary of the background investigation. The city's independent investigator conducted a standard background investigation and also looked into various allegations made by members of the community. Could find nothing disqualifying about Chris Mann and could find nothing to support any inappropriate actions or unlawful activity. A full report will be released to the public in the next few days. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. If there are speakers, the city clerk will hand me the speaker slips. The reminder, you have 3 minutes for public comment. The 3-minute time will be strictly adhered to. And our first public speaker is Ann Harton, followed by Cecilia Johns. And David Duran, you're number 3.
Guess this is okay. Okay, Mayor Beaver and the councilmen. Okay, my name is Ann Hartung. I live at 11990 Douglas Street. This is my 4th council meeting this year. I was originally thought I was attending because of the Yucaipa Ridge project, lot size reduction, and the Ray Casey and city attorney firing. Boy, was I wrong. I couldn't believe that I had to pay out, or that we had to pay out almost $1 million to buy out two contracts that had just been negotiated last October. And for no reason, I have yet to hear any bad comments or either by Ray Casey or David Snow, and to let them go without reason is ludicrous. I have to say, what are you thinking? You hire a new city manager and city attorney without any vetting or any appropriate or any opportunities for other candidates for these positions. Also, you let Mr. Mann dictate his own corrupt contract consisting of 1, he can dictate his own hours. 2, he is going to hire 4 more people to do his work at a cost of about $700,000 a year annually. He has a conflict of interest by owning or working for another company. Our great city cannot afford Mr. Mann, and the city council better have a solution for this mess. Because of the redistricting, the whole city did not get to vote for this entire council, and we have to put up with all of you. I understand there is a woman that was Ray Casey's right hand in the keeping of our great city going forward. She has had this job for many years and should have had an opportunity to apply for city manager. I understand that other cities refuse Mr. Mann as their city manager. What makes him have so much appeal by this council? Real estate development is an important part of management position, and it shouldn't be affected by a bunch of good old boys who have special interests in development companies. I think you have a lot of people in our amazing city that are very upset with what's gone on. And if you want to continue to work in this position that you were elected to, you better get a grip or your reputation may be gone.
Thank you,
That's
ma'am.
it. Thank you.
Cecilia Johns, Mr. David Duran, and Joel McCabe, you're on.
Good evening, Cecilia Johns, 33175 Colorado, here in Yucaipa. Well, I hope what I am going to say is too late. That would be great, but I have a bad feeling. First, I want to point out that, like many others who were upset about your voting record, I do not live in the North Bench. I am one of many outraged citizens who live in other parts of Yucaipa. There are a lot of us, and the number is growing. The dirty way you got rid of Mr. Casey was a big mistake. The issues we have with you, Duncan, Garner Beaver, and Mann are not exclusive to Yucaipa. I spoke to people in Redlands and in other cities who are very aware of the shenanigans going on with our city council and incoming city manager. People everywhere are talking about how corruption has come to Yucaipa. Sadly, it has been here some time, sitting idle, until his chance, Duncan's, to try to control the city was realized. Bobby Duncan, we heard about your recent plea to so-called friends asking for money to help fight the recall coming your way. That's sad when your own friends leak information to harm you. Last week, as Christine Mueller said in a letter to the editor, Mr. Mann is hoping that Yucaipa concerned citizens go away. Let me assure you that they are not. Like Christine, I cannot stand by and watch this happen. I love Yucaipa. We will be back every meeting. It's not going to blow over in 6 weeks or 6 months. City Council is this really the legacy that you want to leave? You will be linked to this scandal forever of bringing in a new city manager surrounding in controversy against the will of the people. Shame, shame, shame.
As previously discussed, there will be no applause I gave the warning already. If we have to clear the gallery, we'll do that. We will not do that again. Mr. David Duran.
I have a, excuse me, before I speak, I have a cough, but it's not contagious. I just want to let you know that. I just can't get rid of it. Okay. Sorry, don't stop me, please. I'm explaining to you what I've got. Thank you. My name is David Duran. I live at 36064 Panorama Drive. I've lived there for a little over 30 years. I believe there's one reason that you, as the city council, have installed Mr. Mann and bastardized the city's manager's role. And that's so you could remake and rezone the North Bench, my opinion. The charade of a contract that you signed allows Mr. Mann to work part-time for a full-time salary, assign the work to his hand-selected men at a cost to the city of hundreds of thousands of dollars. As I understand the contract, Mr. Mann can go to the office on Monday for updates, maybe have coffee and a donut, and then check out to work full-time at his political firm, and it is a political firm. He doesn't have to be active or invested in the everyday workings of our city, as was Ray Casey. Council, is my take incorrect? Please respond. Would anybody please respond to that? Is my take incorrect?
Yes.
Thank you. Where was your conscience, your ethics, your sense of Christian morals, of right and wrong, of good city governance when you agreed to and entered into this contract with Mr. Mann that was created untenable for a city manager's job? Which one of you thought of splitting the job? And why did you select Mr. Mann to be at the apex? When and who approached him? You can correct this egregious conduct. Let Mr. Mann and his men go as you did Ray Casey. Kill the reorganization of the city manager's job and then start the legitimate process of seeking a new city manager. Advertise, interview, vet, and select the best person for the position. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel McCabe, followed by Diane Smith and Mr. Lloyd at Rexdad.
Joel McCabe, Fur Avenue, 31-year resident of Yucaipa. Raised my family here, coached here, contributed a lot of time and effort, volunteered a lot of time. I love this city. I'm standing up for it. A long time ago in September of 2022, which wasn't very long ago, Yucaipa released a YouTube video of the state of the city, which was done very well, and it represents us. I mean, it was top notch. But I'd like to quote Bobby Duncan's segment in that. In this portion of the video, you stated the following: the city of Yucaipa has one of the most amazing city staffs that I've worked with in my life and my career. Our staff is amazing. They are very well trained. They are very diligent. They work hard, good leadership. Ray Casey does a good job with the staff directors, and that all the staff works diligent to make sure we provide the type of information, services the developers need and the citizens need. The quality of life is so amazing. We strive to maintain a rural atmosphere, a hometown feel. People hear about it. They want to come and move here. And so our economic development is very important to make sure we can direct the city the way we want it to go, that you can maintain the atmosphere you want to maintain. The city council works hard to understand the goal and the mission of Yucaipa to keep that hometown feeling. Very well said. That sounds like nirvana to me. Perfect. The question I have is, so when did we find this amazing hardworking staff under the direction of Ray Casey overworked, as stated in the last city council calling for a third-party observation of the current amazing staff? It was stated that the staff takes on many roles and multitasks with each other to get things done. These employees of the city should be commended, as this is a true value of teamwork. People working together, accomplishing tasks and feeling proud. It is so incredibly hard to find good people today. And as stated, these people do a great job. This amazing staff will be under the direction of Chris Mann, who will be, if allowed, whom if allowed will absolutely bring his staff members in to do not only the work of the amazing city staff, who will be subject to termination, but also his work during his non-productive hours. Mr. Mann's contract allows him to keep various business ventures and hold a job with the city of Yucaipa. Shouldn't the job of city manager be a full-time job? What does productive hours represent? 4 hours, 6 hours? The city of Yucaipa needs a city manager that has a good reputation and high moral standards. Yucaipa deserves this. Mayor Beaver, in a YouTube video with the citizens of the North Bench regarding the Yucaipa.
Can you finish your thought in 15 seconds or so, sir?
Am I past my time?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Final thought, you want to wrap up real quick?
sure. In regards to the council and the rogue nature of firing of Ray Casey, the behind-the-scenes backdoor hiring of the new city manager, Chris Mann, the mass proposals and proposed housing developments within our city limits, and finally, the discussion of rezoning the North Bench area, it appears dirty and reeks of corruption.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Diane Smith, followed by Mr. Lloyd Rexdad, and Kathy Sellers, you're up third.
Diane Smith. I live in District 5. I emailed Chris Venable quite a bit lately, and I was trying to convince him to vote for the consultant, and also to not give in to the pressure to support Chris Mann. It didn't work. Councilman Venable's final email to me said, "I laugh at people when you listen to rumors and gossips. So unless you have written facts about your concern, I think we're done trying to solve all the problems you think may happen to our city," end quote. Well, I had convinced my husband to give me his time. I would have about 6 minutes worth of facts that I won't be able to give tonight. So I decided I would just give you the very last fact that I have, because most of them have been given already by different speakers on different nights. So here is the fact. Chris Mann or his PAC donated to Chris Venable's and Matt Garner's campaign. That has never happened before in the history of Yucaipa, never. And that is a fact. Mr. Tooker and Mr. Casey never even expressed a preference, let alone given a candidate any money. But of course, Tooker and Casey both earned their jobs. They didn't have to buy them. When the FBI and the Riverside County District Attorney filed charges against 7 public officials in nearby Beaumont in 2016, the DA, which was Mike Hestron, said, "Those who run our governments and make the laws are not above the law." All 7 were found guilty on December 19th, 2017. Remember that. You are not above the law.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lloyd Rexdad.
Lloyd Rexstad, 35 years in the city of Yucaipa. I want to address two of the outrageous components of the hiring process and the contract between city council and the incoming city manager. Regarding the contract first, the issue of him being able to de facto set his own salary by arbitrarily increasing his subordinate's salary is unacceptable. He's starting at $240,000 with a $20,000 raise at the end of the first year, according to several newspaper accounts. And the 110% provision is absolutely ridiculous. This provision, coupled with the fact that the city council is contractually agreeing to not interfere with any of his decision-making or his policies, totally indefensible. As we all know, this will only invite runaway salary increases that will trigger an automatic, outrageous increase in salary for himself. When this happens, it will, as it most certainly will, you, city council members who voted for him, will be held directly responsible. Secondly, the process by which this city manager was selected is totally corrupt and dishonorable through and through. Mayor Beaver, you are on record as having said that you were directly involved in hiring him. If I were you, I wouldn't brag about that. You know that hiring public employees under the cover of darkness, which is absolutely what happened without public scrutiny of any multiple candidates, of which there were none, is no achievement to be proud of. No application process, no vetting, no background check, no written tests, no proof of competency, absolutely no public disclosure. This is reprehensible, very possibly illegal, and it's 100% on you, all of you. The fact that the incoming city manager agreed to accept the position under such shady and unscrupulous methods and circumstances speaks volumes about his character and his ethical practices. Is this the kind of person we want representing Yucaipa? I think not. Yucaipa deserves better representation than that. I remind you, be not afraid. The citizens of Yucaipa are not backing down. Your underhanded comments and operations will not go unchecked. Remember, and I'm speaking to Bobby, remember the biblical admonition, a man reaps what he sows.
Thank you, sir. Ms.
Mayor?
Kathy Sellers?
Before the next speaker, may I make a brief comment?
Certainly.
So, we've had several meetings now. People have come up, expressed their points of view. I do think it's important that when someone comes up and says something that is clearly false, that the record be corrected for the minutes, if that's okay.
Sir.
Chris Mann has already waived the provision related to his salary separation. It's already been made clear that he can take no action that would result in an increase in his own salary beyond that which has already been approved by the city council. I've heard that made several times. I just wanted to correct the record. The mayor himself actually read the memo into the record, and that memo is on file with the city clerk. The other statement that was just made was that he was appointed under cover of darkness. He was appointed at a public meeting. His employment agreement was approved at a public meeting. A thorough background check was done. We just talked about it. And a public report will be made available to the public on that. So I just want to make that clear and put that into the record. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Kathy Sellers, followed by George Sardison.
That was interesting. Kathy Sellers, District 1. I keep telling my family that I will take a back seat for a while and stop making public comments at council and planning meetings, but then I hear from more and more enraged citizens and community leaders to keep up the good fight. To the people of Yucaipa, I give you my word that we will fight like hell until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice. As soon as the decision is made to launch a recall, we will have a professional political consultant on board, a political action committee formed, donations will be coming in, attorneys are poised for filing whatever legal action is deemed appropriate, governmental agencies will be investigating. We know that Bobby Duncan has begun asking for money to fund his Stop the Recall 2023. Before anyone gives him $1 out of your savings for your kids' college or your retirement funds, wait and learn what we know has been going on. To the property owners and developers waiting in the wings to spend thousands on surveying or finalizing sales agreements that are contingent on the general plan being changed for density housing, think twice. If you're willing to develop that land in adherence with our current zoning laws, we welcome you to join us here in the jewel of the Inland Empire. Council members, it didn't need to come to this. If you had only listened to the hundreds of pleas from your constituents, perhaps created a concerned citizens committee to find solutions to our grievances once they were brought to your attention, think what we could have accomplished together. Instead, it fell on deaf ears, and your arrogance kept you on the path to finalizing Bobby Duncan's goals of replacing Casey and Snow with Mann and Graham, and then bestowing on Chris Mann the power he feels entitled to. A fraud has been perpetrated on the citizens' taxpayer dollars used for funding his contract. It insults my law enforcement husband that after strapping on a badge and a gun for 40 years, he didn't earn lifetime medical coverage like Chris Mann will after 5 years on the job. What a shame. Bobby Duncan, before you get up tonight and regale us with your fairy tale of how you're being made the victim in all of this, because after all, you're only going forward with what was started by past council members 3 or 4 years ago, it doesn't matter. You now know how thousands of citizens feel about going forward with allowing high-density projects throughout our city against current zoning. We are not anti-development. We are against unethical pay-for-play dealings and shady conflicts of interest. We are no longer angry just because you replaced Ray Casey. We're tired of you being an embarrassment to our city. We're tired of your self-importance and hubris. We're tired of your undue influences on the businesses in Yucaipa and employees of City Hall. We're tired of your poor representation of our city. So you will be brought down this time, along with your hand-selected straw man, Matt Garner. Sadly, Justin Beaver may be a victim of your schemes, but he was warned. I cannot tell you the number of people who have told me over the last 4 months that they can't stand Bobby Duncan, that diabolical density Duncan has to go. We will demand the city we want to live in and then go after it with all of our heart and might.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. George Sardison.
George Sardison, 12451 Custer Street. I'd like to begin with asking the mayor the rules and regulations that you laid down at the beginning of the meeting. I would like to see that a copy of that is placed for future meetings, starting at the next meeting, so that anybody coming into the meeting will know what the rules are that you've laid down for tonight.
Mayor, briefly, copies of the rules of decorum are placed on the back table and have been since the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you.
The rules that he laid down tonight about passing people's time.
The rules to seating people's time was placed at the back of the room.
Okay,
That's a Yucaipa resolution.
all right.
As to the other rules relative to disrupting meetings.
And I would remind you that applause in public meetings is a expression of free speech.
It's disruption in this meeting, sir. It's per the California Penal Code Section 403.
Okay. I have a copy here of the agenda report for the meeting of February 13th, when you discussed the general fund budget adjustment, salary amendment. And at the end of the discussion, the paragraph says, these changes have also been discussed with, evaluated, and are recommended by the city's management consultant, Chris Mann, who has been hired by the city council to take over as city manager on March 1st. Further down in the report, it says on February 7th, the Finance Committee, council members Thorpe and Venable, met with city staff and city's management consultant, Chris Mann, to review and discuss this item in addition to other finance-related topics. Based on discussions and documents presented, the Finance Committee recommends the support of this item. I went through the consent calendar for the last couple of months, and I could not find anywhere in there was Chris Mann was authorized or hired as a management consultant for the city. So my question is, when did that occur? How did that happen? When was Mr. Mann hired as the city's management consultant, prior to him even being city manager?
Will that conclude your comment, sir? If you want to finish your comment, then we'll answer your question.
Well, can I get an answer while I'm up at the
You have a minute and
microphone?
30
My
seconds
3-minute
left.
time?
Go ahead and pause it. Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor, if you'd like, I can answer all of the public speaker's questions at the end of his time so that we don't have to keep going back and forth. It's an opportunity for public comment, but I'm ready to respond to those if you'd like.
Looks like he's done with his time, sir.
Okay,
Mr.
great.
Attorney.
So I did want to point out that the rules of decorum that the mayor referenced were set by Resolution 2021-12, which were adopted by this city council over 3 years ago. Greg Bogue, mayor, signed it. Jennifer Crawford, city clerk, approved it, and it was approved as to form by David Snow, then the city attorney. The other question that was brought up was when was Chris Mann appointed management consultant? I don't know the exact date. It was the middle of January. The contract was entered into by Jennifer Crawford and her authority as acting city manager. Chris Mann is being paid the grand total of $1 to be offering his management consultant services for the 45 days before he becomes city manager. And the intent of that was simply to be able to get him on board and be able to brief him on ongoing city operations so that he starts on March 1st and he's ready to go. He doesn't spend the first couple weeks learning the job. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Miskin, followed by Ms. Robin Miskin.
Kevin Miskin, Ivy Avenue. As you know, there's a lot of people who have expressed their deep concern with regard to some of the decisions that have been made regarding the termination of Ray Casey as well as David Snow and the hiring of Chris Mann. I've looked at his contract and the contract even causes greater concern. It's clear that looking at the contract, this is what you get when you don't have a competitive hiring practice. I'm just going to read a few of these. I don't have time for all of them. Maybe I'll come back and read the rest of them. But with regard to devotion of business, it says, City Man, this is Chris Mann's contract with the City of Yucaipa. Chris Mann may, without prior approval of the City Council, undertake limited outside activities in teaching, writing, consulting, holding elected or appointed office, or other business pursuits. That's been referred to. This contract is really, the contract at Canyon Lakes was the contract that was used for this Yucaipa contract. They're very close, but there's some interesting differences because what was struck from the Canyon Lakes contract was the position of city manager is a full-time position. In addition to that, I looked at the Redlands contract just for comparison, the city manager of Redlands. The employee shall not engage without the express written consent or without the authorization of the city council in any other business duties or pursuits whatsoever, directly or indirectly render any services of a business, commercial, or professional nature. In addition to that, under conflicts prohibited in the Redlands contract, which is missing from our contract, employees shall not engage in any business or transaction or maintain a financial interest which conflicts or reasonably might be expected to conflict with the proper discharge of the employee's duties under the agreement. In addition to that, under 6.1 termination without clause, the city shall pay city manager a lump sum cash payment equal to 12 months of the city manager's base pay. In the Canyon Lakes contract, it was 6 months, and in the city of Redlands, it's also 6 months, so we basically doubled his benefit there. Another one that I wanted to point out here, that under disability, if he's disabled for the period of 12 months, the city can terminate his employment contract. Previously, that was just 3 months in his previous contract. It's interesting that section 7.3 was removed. That 7.3 was performance and longevity in his Canyon Lakes contract. That's also in the City of Redlands contract, but under that, it indicates that he's subject to performance evaluations. We don't have that anywhere in our contract. And I'm out of time, but I'll just read one more. Should the city manager retire from the city after serving a minimum of 5 years as an employee to the city, the city shall continue to provide retiree health coverage as outlined in this agreement. In other words, if he works 5 years, he gets full health benefits for the rest of his life.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Robin Miskin.
So can we get clarification on that? These folks are thinking that he's got a part-time job.
I'd like clarification on that, because I don't think that's.
Mayor, can I briefly respond?
Please.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I did want to respond to Mr. Michigan's claim that Ray Casey was terminated. Ray Casey retired. It's a matter of public record. If you don't believe me, you can
Order
ask
in the
him.
chambers.
The other issue was noted that there was no language about conflicts of interest. Mr. Mann is subject to the Political Reform Act and Government Code Section 1090, the same as every other government employee. Every other government employee is subject to those same laws. There's no need to have it in his contract. We could put it in there, but it wouldn't make it any more or less enforceable against him. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Miskin.
Good evening. I'm here speaking on behalf of Lucinda Brinks. She says, I would like to take this opportunity to voice my opposition regarding hiring the proposed new city manager. This may be your last chance to void the contract that is scheduled to go into effect on March 1st, 2023, and I urge you not to do so. I urge you to do so, to void his contract. I apologize. Did he pass the background check? Who actually performed the check? Are any of the investigators affiliated with any member of this council? I just can't fathom that Mr. Mann could or would pass a legitimate investigation. While the whole world may not be watching yet, I can assure you that the concerned citizens of Yucaipa are. Lucinda Brinks.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, for the record, can we lay out the foundation for the background investigator?
Yes, the background investigator is Bill Whalen of Bill Whalen and Associates. He's an independent investigator. He's a former chief of police of a major metropolitan police department in Southern California and served, I think, for approximately 30 years in various capacities of law enforcement. The city council, at the direction of the mayor and Councilmember Thorpe, subjected him to essentially the same level of scrutiny that we would do to a law enforcement applicant. We also interviewed numerous members of the Yucaipa community, several of whom have come to provide public comment and made various allegations. He could find no evidence that substantiated any of those allegations of impropriety or illegality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Caesar Roldan, please, followed by Mr. Ray Snodgrass.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Councilmen, staff. You are our elected leadership. We know, and it's been very clear lately, that it's a position and assignment that is thankless and not appreciated in many ways. I simply come out here tonight to say that there are a lot in our community that love you and support you. It may not seem that way with so many recent changes and adjustments. Instead, it may feel like chaos and uncertainty. I simply would like to remind you that the loudest is not the majority. There is a lot of backlash, and a lot of people who do love you and support you are actually afraid of coming out here and speaking up. Also, know that there is constant prayer for our city and our leadership and our staff. And Romans 13:1 acknowledges that those who are in position of power have been allowed to be there by God for a specific purpose. And when we pray for them, we are praying for God's will to be done. And while we pray, it is also important to remember that our leaders face spiritual battles and opposition that they may not be aware of. So Mayor, Councilmen, and city staff, just know that you're not alone. You do have support in many of our prayers. May God continue to bless Yucaipa, bless you, and bless your household. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Sir, Mr. Ray Snodgrass, followed by Ms. Christine Muller.
Honorable Mayor and council members, staff, thank you for listening. I am one person in the audience that is in support of the council. I know it's not a popular decision, but I do know, based on my own research and due diligence, and I'm addressing the council, that your actions are contained legally within the California Government Code. City managers, as defined, codified in state law, are at-will employees and serve at the pleasure of the council. Not me, not the community, but at the pleasure of the council. They are at will. Any city manager that enters into service with a city that has any salt will join in with a contract to protect themselves and protect the city. That is very clear. I also did my own research on salaries for city managers within the state of California. I looked at 39 different cities with similar populations. The proposed salary for our new city manager is less than 39 other cities that I compared notes with. There are many more out there that make less and many more that make more, but the average of the 39 cities that are close to the same population is much higher than the 220,000 that Mr. Mann will start out with. Even going to the 240,000 is well under the average. I also want to correct a so-called fact that was discussed. I've been in Yucaipa since 1985, so you can do the count. I ran the fire service, paramedic service for 16 years while I was here. I helped incorporate this city by working with a committee. I will tell you that we've had 4 previous city managers. The first one was appointed as an interim, and I believe that was Mr. Cunningham. And then our second one was Leslie Keene Stratton. Third was John Tooker. Fourth was Ray Casey, and our soon-to-be number 5 will be Mr. Mann. Like the speaker before me said, there's a lot of support out there for every one of you, and just know that we are really a silent majority.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Christine Muller, speaking on the closed session item. So we don't usually have, there's not anything in my script here for that, so I guess we'll do that now on the closed session item, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. Christine Moeller. First, in reference to the closed session item, the anticipated litigation, just want you guys to know that, the general plan is definitely defensible. There's no question that our housing element has been certified. We're not at risk in any way. When I see things like potential litigation or, anticipated litigation, let them sue us. If that's what they want to do, and if they're threatening litigation because we won't allow them to blow up 84 condos into 200, it was 300, now to 200, now to 173, and they're threatening litigation, let them sue us, okay? That's my suggestion. The second thing I want to say is I'd like to thank Ray Casey for keeping our city safe in this torrential storm, all the storm drain improvements, all the, basin projects, all those projects are why we are safe here today. The third thing I'd like to say is regarding the 110% separation agreement. There's no question, Mr. Graham, if you're going to be honest and represent things, he took it out of there because we had such a problem with it. So don't represent it that he took it out of the contract voluntarily. He did it voluntarily, but he did it in response to the outpouring of our concerns. So don't say that he took it out of it, because he didn't. He took it out in reference to us having a problem with it. The last thing I'd like to say is whatever money it'll cost to get Mr. Mann out of this contract is worth it to us. Toxic, 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 toxic. We don't want it. It's a problem. It's just, I feel so anxious about this city. I've lived here for so many years. The angst and the anxiety I feel from all this maligning and this terrible stuff going on is not right. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. Mr. Gardner, don't be a sheep. Don't be a sheep. You represent people in your community. Do something. Don't just sit there and vote with other people. I'd like to see you speak up. Tell us what you're interested in and why you vote the way you do. You can't just sit there and say yes and vote with other people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, can I respond?
Sir?
So Ms. Miller brings up the point that that waiver was made in response to public pressure. I can say that the waiver was made because the city council negotiated Mr. Mann's salary down so low during their negotiations from where it was contemplated. Mr. Casey was making close to $300,000 per year in base salary. Mr. Mann is making $240,000. That the council, in negotiating his salary down so low, caused an unanticipated issue with compaction. Once that was noticed, he immediately waived it upon advice that to take any action that would increase his own salary would be a violation of law. Thank you, Mayor.
And I did receive that memorandum prior to the public meeting from Mr. Mann. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there any council member that wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Let me read this.
Not yet. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move approval.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we move on to mayor and council member business reports. Is there any council member that has any business to report?
Is this time to read it? Yes, I'd like to read a statement, if you don't mind. So good evening, everyone. I would like to report that my 86-year-old mother is better. You see, I had to miss this last meeting because she was ill and I had to go to Oregon to care for her. I heard someone said that I was afraid to come to the meeting. I assure you that is just another lie that is being told about me. Because I'm not afraid of you folks. I would like to thank Christine Moeller and Denise Works for the complaint filed against me with the FPPC. It forced me to really do a deep dive into the rules of this office. I spend 50% of my energy every day trying to not cross a line. I have had several discussions with Dave Snow and Stephen Graham about the rules on the conflict of interest. I know I told Kathy Sellers and her husband that I would recuse myself from Craig Heap's projects. However, my research has convinced me I can in fact vote on his projects. I do not have any financial interest in him or his company. He is a good friend of mine, just like Christine Moeller used to be, just like Linda Whittam used to be, just like Diane Smith used to be. People that believe in Christ stab you in the back like Judas Iscariot. The truth is, I simply stop and have coffee with Craig at his office from time to time. He is just a friend. Believe it or not, I frankly don't give a rip. My research also convinced me that I need to wait until July the 12th to vote on the Yucaipa Wine Country Specific Plan. Serrano Estates is not in this area. I have had 2 real estate opportunities in the Wine Country Specific Plan area of the North Bench. One will expire on May the 5th, and the other will expire on July the 12th. The 12-month rule applies here. I still like the plan for the North Bench. I see it as a win-win. It does not increase the total number of housing units that can be built on the North Bench. It allows for the area to become a grape-growing region, and it helps us protect the area from the unwanted haphazard higher density development that comes with SB 9, which absolutely does apply to Yucaipa and the North Bench regardless of what Kevin Miskin has to say about it. I will make decisions for all 55,000 people that live in Yucaipa, not just the 35 who are bashing me on the North Bench. This is just sour grapes because Sherilyn Long lost the election. Wrong. Back in October, when all this started, the North Bench...
Stop. Sergeant, the man in blue here needs to go outside. Thank you, sir. You're full of crap. Sir, you will amend yourself and exit the room.
You're a punk.
Out of the room, sir.
Shall I continue?
Yes.
Back in October, when all this started, This North Bench mob finally found out about the plans for the North Bench, the Yucaipa Valley Wine Country Specific Plan. You came the very first time and spoke. I listened to you the first time. I listened the second time. In fact, I went to Kevin Miskin's house and met with him and his wife. I listened to what he and his wife said. I then met with the city manager, Ray Casey, and tried to find a possible compromise. Whose idea do you think this whole wine country thing was? Do some research. Dig a little deeper. Dick Riddell, Denise Allen, Greg Bogue, and David Avila approved this plan all along. So did I. I thought you folks knew about it. I suggested maybe an RL half-acre designation for the North Bench in order to keep it rural. I was listening then. Then when Ray retired, you all got real ugly. It went from zoning to city manager. Then you started in on our new choice for city manager. Then you started in on city staffing. Let me explain something to you. It's already been said tonight, but I'll go ahead and explain it to you. Who the city manager is not your decision. It is the decision of the city council. That ship has sailed. Ray is gone, done deal. Man is hired, done deal. We have made a fantastic decision for all the people of Yucaipa. I believe time will prove that. If you keep this bashing up, how can you expect anyone to care what you think? When you all speak, now all I hear is blah, 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 blah. Wah, 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 wah. That's what I hear because you've gone way beyond. If you keep bashing us, how can you really expect me to care what you think? As far as a lawsuit is concerned, we have had legal counsel at every stage of this process. We did everything by the book. No Brown Act violations, no conflict of interest. I have believed we needed new eyes on this city for many years. I stand by our decision. Thank you for your kind attention.
Any other mayor or any other councilman to report anything? Moving on to possible action on pending legislation. And that'll be under item number 7 with Shane Massoud.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Before you tonight, staff is recommending that you approve a letter of support for Senate Bill 44 by Senator Thomas Umberg, which if passed, would help establish the necessary framework that will suppress the growing fentanyl crisis. As council is aware, illicit fentanyl continues to have devastating impacts to communities across our nation and state. The latest provisional mortality data from the CDC indicates that more than 107,000 Americans died from a drug overdose in the last 12 months, ending in January 2022. Of these deaths, it is estimated that 80,590, or 75%, involved at least one opioid, with 71,450, or 66.5%, involving synthetic opioids, primarily illicitly manufactured fentanyl and fentanyl analogs. On December 12th, 2022, City Council approved a letter of support for Senate Bill 13 by Senator Ochoa Bogue. On February 3rd, 2023, City staff was made aware by Senator Ochoa Bogue's office that she had decided to pool Senate Bill 13 and be a co-author of Senator Umberg's bill, Senate Bill 44. Senate Bill 44 is identical to Senate Bill 13, which was previously supported by City Council. However, Senator Ochoa Bogue decided to be a joint author with Senator Umberg to work in a bipartisan manner to hopefully get this potential life-saving policy enacted. SB 44 would require a person who's convicted of or who pleads guilty or no contest to drug-related crimes to receive a written advisory of the dangers of manufacturing or distributing or the distribution of a controlled substance, and if a person dies as a result of the action, the manufacturer or distributor can be charged with voluntary manslaughter or murder. SB 44 continues to receive widespread support across the state. For example, the 911 Ambulance Providers Alliance, the California District Attorneys Association, the California Police Chief Associations, among others. Staff is recommending that you approve a letter of support for Senate Bill 44 by Senator Thomas Umberg. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, sir.
I'll motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll move approval.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And Shane, looks like you got the next one too. Assembly Bill 335.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Once again, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Before you tonight, staff is recommending that you approve a letter of support for Assembly Bill 335 by Assemblymember Juan Alinas, which if passed by the legislature and then the voters would repeal Proposition 47, the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. Prop 47 was passed by the voters of California in November of 2014. Prop 47 implemented 4 changes to California's felony sentencing laws. The first, it changed certain thefts and drug possession offenses from felonies to misdemeanors. Second, it authorized defendants currently serving sentences for felony offenses that would have qualified as misdemeanors under Prop 47 to petition the courts for resentencing. Third, it authorized the defendant who have completed their sentences for felony convictions that would have qualified as a misdemeanor under Prop 47 to apply for reclassifying those convictions. And finally, Prop 47 also classified certain property offenses for which the dollar value is less than $950 a misdemeanor. For example, theft, receiving stolen property, and shoplifting, just to list a few. As of September 2022, there have been approximately 398,000 reported petitions for resentencing and or reclassification under Prop 47. With the 2023-2024 California legislative session underway, there are multiple efforts to pass meaningful legislation that will address the surging crime rates in the state. Assembly Bill 335 is one piece of legislation currently working its way through the legislative process. AB 335 would specifically repeal changes and additions made by Prop 47, except those related to reducing the penalties for possession of cannabis due to marijuana becoming legal in California after Prop 47 was passed. This bill, if approved by the state legislature, would place a ballot initiative on the next statewide general election in 2024 for the voters to approve. This bill has been referred to the Assembly Committee on Public Safety and will be heard this Friday, March 2nd, 2023. This concludes my report, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I spoke about this, I don't know, maybe a month, 2 months ago. And when this comes back to us as voters, it's important to note that when this was presented to the voters in 2014, it was intentionally ambiguous, misleading, okay? Prop 47 was called the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. That sounds phenomenal. Who doesn't want safer neighborhoods and safer schools? That is a way that legislatures are able to push things through, hoping that nobody's gonna read the fine print, okay? So the collateral damages that Prop 47 has seen has been the rise in crime. We've eliminated consequence in our society. I'm extraordinarily pleased that this bill is going to be going to the Senate, and hopefully it does make it to our voting booths in November, because I can tell you, when I started my law enforcement career as a volunteer here in Yucaipa, there was one gentleman in town that was a homeless person. I don't know if that's, I've never done the research myself to look into it, but I find it telling that in the time that Prop 47 was passed, we have such a huge homeless problem. And maybe it's because people are just absolutely abusing mind-altering substances, losing their jobs, losing their homes, and then end up on the streets. More than that, we see a problem in our society with mass violence. And people say, well, it's a psychiatric problem, it's a mental problem. And that may be the case, but when you consider when a law enforcement officer gets dispatched to a psychiatric emergency, more often than not, and I'm telling you from experience, that's not a truly psychiatric emergency. It's a person under the influence of a mind-altering substance. So now we're taking somebody who needs to just detox and putting him in occupying a bed space where somebody who truly needs help is being asked to wait in the lobby because they're not there on a law enforcement 5150 hold. They're a voluntary walk-in. So we're treating people who are under the influence of drugs as if they're in a mental health crisis, and we're altogether ignoring people who are actually in a mental health crisis, and then we see a rise in mass violence. I would, and unless there's somebody else who'd like to speak on the matter, I'd like to be the one to motion approval for this support for Assembly Bill 335.
And I'll second it.
Perfect. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Shane, great report. Thank you. Moving on to department reports. We'll go to item 9A, I guess, or the walk-in item. So Mr. Preciado.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. City staff received correspondence from the City of Calamasa requesting the City of Yucaipa's support for a funding request through Senator Alex Padilla's office for the County Line Road Corridor project. Their request is for congressional community project funding under the 2024 appropriations process. The deadline for the City of Calamasa to submit the request for $2 million in funding is March 3, 2023, which is later this year. As council is aware, over the last 5 years or so, both cities have worked together to complete the County Line Road Corridor Improvement Project, where Phase 1 was completed in 2019 and Phase 2 is currently under construction. The funding that is being requested will be used to complete the intersection improvements at County Line Road and Calamasa Boulevard if the funding request is approved. And since the improvements associated with the project will be a benefit to both cities, staff is seeking council approval of the proposed letter of support that is attached to the agenda report. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. County Line Road certainly is in need of help. We get those letters and calls all the time. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, this is the memorandum of understanding for the Yucaipa Gateway Center project. Mr. Preciado.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Mayor and council members. Back in 2014, the Planning Commission approved the Gateway Center project, and that project is located at Oakland Road and the I-10 freeway. As you can see on the exhibit on the screen, the project again is located along Oakland Road between the westbound on-ramp and to the I-10 freeway and 14th Street. The project that was approved and entitled includes the AM/PM fueling station with car wash that has already been completed, the convenience store, which has already been completed, and the 98-room hotel, which is currently under construction, and that also included a restaurant pad and a drive-through restaurant pad. On the screen before you is a rendering of that project. As part of that project, a development agreement was approved by the City Council for this project, and the development agreement assures that the developer of the project assures the developer that the project can be built subject to the rules and the regulations that are in effect at the time. These development agreements also do benefit the city since they include conditions for the development that need to be completed to ensure that impacts to the community are mitigated. The developers has completed the first phase of the project, as I mentioned earlier. And as the project has been developed, amendments to the already approved development agreement have been discussed. Those amendments do benefit both the developer and the city. The amendments that have been discussed include or are related to the city's responsibility to underground utilities along Oakland Road. As you can see on the screen, Oakland Road is along the bottom. There are several utility poles along the frontage of Oakland Road. The existing development agreement does indicate that the city is responsible for undergrounding those utilities. Another point that has been discussed as far as an amendment to the agreement is a cost share for a retaining wall between a hotel along the north side and Wilson Creek. A cost share between the city and the developer, and also the vacation of right-of-way along Dunlap Boulevard. You can see on the screen that the extension of Dunlap Boulevard does go through the project. And as part of the development agreement, the way that it's written today, the city was to move forward with the vacation of that right-of-way. But over the last several months, we have found that that actual property is, the underlying fee owner is the developer the developer of the property. So there are portions that are public right-of-way and portions that are owned by the developer. So as part of the development agreement, staff is going to be proposing a access and parking easement on the public right-of-way that it still remains within Dunlap Boulevard. Again, as far as the city's responsibility for the utility undergrounding on Oakland Road, one of the things that has been realized is that by relocating the utility poles along the Dunlap Boulevard alignment, that will actually benefit the development of the project more rather than the undergrounding of the utilities on Oakland Road. Staff has done some investigation and found that the cost to underground the utilities on Oakland Road is between $400,000 and $600,000. The total cost, at least the estimated cost to relocate the poles along Dunlap Boulevard is a little over $200,000. So there is a cost savings associated with that development. A formal amendment to the development agreement will require a few months for the city staff and for the developer to process. So that will ultimately come back to the city council for formal approval. And at this time, in order to keep the development project moving, staff is proposing the memorandum of understanding before you. And that memorandum of understanding includes a couple of the amendments to the agreement that are being proposed, specifically the ones that are related to costs to the city. So one is what I mentioned earlier is the cost, a little over $200,000 to relocate the utilities. And the other one is related to the city's cost of the retaining wall between the hotel and the Wilson Creek project, and that is in the $30,000 range. If approved, staff will continue to work with the developer to amend the agreement and process the amendment for approval. And I would like to point out there that there are some other points that are being discussed. The developer has been able to work with the La Quinta Hotel Corporation to be able to provide the city discounted room rates. What's been discussed at this time is a discount rate for 4 rooms for 2 consecutive nights on Friday and Saturday, 4 times a year, specifically during the weekends that the city holds our community events such as the Music and Art Festival, Autumn Fest, and Five Winds Fest. And the idea there would be that the city would be able to utilize those rooms for the contractors, the artists that may want to stay here in the city when they're providing their services. The adopted fiscal year 22-23 capital improvement program does include over $6 million in funding for the Dunlap Boulevard Bridge Replacement Project, which is associated with this project. That Dunlap Boulevard Bridge Removal Project will benefit not only this project, but a lot of other properties by removing them out of the floodplain and providing more developable property. Out of the total cost for that project, $3.2 million of that cost is a benefit to this development project as well as the adjacent properties. With the proposed MOU, that cost will be reduced to about $2.9 million due to the cost savings associated with the utility relocation I mentioned earlier. And in addition to that, the total additional tax-related revenue to the city's general fund resulting from this project is estimated to be approximately $750,000 per year. And at that rate, the city will recover the cost of the city's commitments identified in that development agreement in about 4 years or so. So as I mentioned, if approved, staff will return to council at a later date with a recommendation regarding the formal amendment to that development agreement and the associated revised fiscal impact, including the revenue component. That concludes my report. Staff is available for questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Do we have questions of staff?
No, I move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 4-0. I'm not sure that a discounted rate at the La Quinta is enough to get George Strait to come to our Music and Arts Festival, but Megan, let's market it, you know? I think we can try to get George Strait. All right. Moving on to item number 10. This is presented by Ms. Megan Wolf, the special event permit application for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Academy.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The current ordinance that oversees the special event permit process requires City Council approval for the sale of alcohol on city property. City staff received an application from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Academy Class 230 to hold a cornhole charity event on the property located just west of the YPAC there on the screen, highlighted in yellow between the YPAC and Yucaipa. This event will be held this Friday, March 3rd, 2023, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. and will consist of cornhole, food, beer, and wine, and there is an expected attendance of 300 people. The applicant is requesting use of the city floodlights to provide adequate lighting for the event, as well as 36 barricades to provide alcohol boundaries at the event. In addition, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the special event permit fee application in the amount of $200. This concludes my report, and I could answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of staff?
I motion to approve.
What academy class were you, Sergeant Hockamay? We're getting close. 2:30. All right. Do we have
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 11, award of professional services agreement, on-call professional real estate appraisal services. Landon Kern.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor and members of council. This report is for the award of professional service agreements for on-call real estate appraisal services in order to facilitate the design and construction of the city's capital improvement program. An important step in the planning and design as well as construction phase of these projects is the identification of properties or real estate in accordance with the needs for that particular project. And at times, construction of public improvements associated with these CIP projects is proposed on projects that are not owned by the city at that time. As a result, the acquisition of property is identified and staff can begin the process with licensed appraisers in the state of California to facilitate that acquisition process. And depending on the project and the associated limits of work, this may end up being in the form of easements, right-of-way, or real property acquisition. It is important to note that this process requires the use of certified real estate appraisers in order to ensure consistency with applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, and of course to establish the fair market value for any properties that are to be used as the basis for any proposed or required acquisitions. These services, combined with other engineering and surveying efforts performed by staff and consultants, allow for staff to come before City Council with associated recommendations involving property acquisitions that may be required to accommodate the city projects. After publicly advertising a request for qualifications and proposals, 3 firms submitted proposals and were evaluated by a panel of 3 staff to determine the most qualified firms to provide these services on an on-call basis. And based on the results of that competitive RFQ process and the subsequent evaluation of the proposals received, 2 of those 3 firms were deemed the most qualified and are therefore recommended for on-call 2-year contracts. And based on the qualifications of each firm and the anticipated needs of services required for various projects and programs, staff is recommending approximately $288,000 for on-call appraisal services over the 2-year period as follows: $190,000 for Integra Realty Resources out of Encino, California, and $98,000 for Bender Rosenthal Incorporated out of Pasadena, California. It is also important to note that the scope of services offered by these firms and incorporated into the proposed on-call service agreements also includes litigation support services and expert testimony in real estate valuation matters in certain circumstances that may require those services at that time, And that's a unique set of qualifications that in the past has at times limited the amount of proposals that we receive, as not all appraisal companies can provide those types of services. Staff is recommending approval of items 1 through 2 as listed in the report, and that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Good report. Questions of staff?
Are we having two because one may not be available? Is that why we have two?
We like to have 2 available that are working on separate projects, and we do anticipate that these services will require multiple projects simultaneously occurring at the same time.
I'll move approval.
Well, I got a question. How come we're not using someone local?
We only received 3 proposals, and that's not uncommon, I think in part because some of the services that are offered, like the expert testimony and the litigation support, are a unique set of skills that a lot of the local, smaller appraisal firms don't have that kind of expertise. I think that's probably one of the main reasons why some of the local firms.
Does this kind of litigation take a while? Is it prolonged?
Yeah, Councilman Garner, Mr. Quinn's correct. I've had the same issue whenever we've gone out for appraisal services. I know there's a lot of appraisers who work locally, and you wonder, why are we not getting their services? When we're talking about the appraisals that are being done by city staff on these projects, they have very stringent requirements under the government code, under local and state law, and sometimes under federal grant requirements. And so it requires a high level of expertise. Additionally, oftentimes we end up in litigation. If we're doing it for a condemnation proceeding, for example, the appraiser needs to be ready to go to court, provide expert testimony. And so you typically end up with these larger firms that are experienced in that specific area. It's not unusual.
Any further questions of staff? We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
First and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item number 12, Flood Corridor Program, Grant Funding Agreement number 3 with the State of California Water Resources. Mr. Landon Kern.
Yes, thank you. This report is for the Department of Water Resources Flood Corridor Grant Program, and specifically the City Department of Water Resources Agreement pertaining to grant funding for the Oak Glen Creek Open Space Acquisition Project. Following an application for funding in 2011, Council authorized an agreement with DWR, the Department of Water Resources, in 2012. And at that time, allowing the city to use the Flood Corridor Grant Program funding for the purchase of vacant properties in the floodway and floodplain. And the program requires that the properties be used for open space, flood protection, flood corridors, or habitat conservation. The slide before you shows an area of Yucaipa in the North Bench. This is a plan commonly referred to as the North Bench Water Resources Plan, showing the variety of drainage projects that are either in service or under development. And you can see we have encompassed 2 watersheds, one being the Wilson Creek that comes down into our Wilson 3 Basin project, the other being Oak Glen Creek coming down along Oak Glen Road. And the area that we are speaking about with respect to this report is the area in this vicinity here in red near the Pendleton low water crossing area in this area that's called the Oak Glen Creek Corridor. And this area provides an important habitat and an open space and flood corridor link between our Wilson 3 Basin project here just west of Bryant Street, as well as the existing county-maintained Oak Glen basins. And then finally, immediately adjacent to our Pendleton low water crossing project, for which we're still in the design phase going through that Caltrans process to finalize that project. And through this program, the city acquired 2 properties, a total of 9.13 acres, and the grant program required the recordation of conservation easements over these properties, and additional time was required in order to finalize the recordation of these easements. This next slide here shows you a little bit closer view of the area that we're speaking about and that corridor that is designated for open space and trail connectivity and the preservation of habitat, and that some of these areas are used either for mitigation for other projects, or in this case, these properties that were acquired were in order to accommodate the road and drainage improvements for the Pendleton Low Water Crossing project here on the screen. Coordination was required between the city, DWR, and the Inland Empire Resources Conservation District, IERCD, in order to finalize that easement language in accordance with the grant program requirements. And DWR is required this process be completed prior to the reimbursement of those grant funds. The original agreement in 2012 and subsequent agreement number 2 executed in 2018 did not allow for certain eligible costs to be reimbursed due to the dates and timeframes listed in that subsequent agreement. And therefore, DWR has recommended in a response to staff's request to reevaluate that eligibility within that timeframe. And the DWR has developed agreement number 3, covering the period of February 2015 through December 31st of 2023 in order to allow the city to request that reimbursement for approximately $279,000 of those eligible costs. And this agreement will allow us to move forward and process that reimbursement before the end of the year. One more slide just to show you a little bit more detail on the properties that we're speaking about here. This shows on the right side of the screen Pendleton as it crosses Oakland Creek, just south of Oakland Road. And so the properties that were acquired through this grant program were these 3 properties located in the black dotted lines there. Also recommended with this report is a proposed revision to the fiscal year 22-23 CIP in order to adjust and identify that appropriate amount of the grant funding that this third agreement incorporates. Essentially, this agreement allows the costs that have already been incurred to be submitted immediately and to get reimbursed before the end of the year. And with that, staff is recommending approval of items 1 through 2 as provided with this report. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions of staff? I got a question. The existing Pendleton Road, once the new one is paved, are we just going to leave the old road in place, or are you going to demolish and haul away? Is it going to be a true conservation where we kind of get it back to nature, or traditionally in Yucaipa we kind of leave roadways after we shut them down? There's the old hairpin turn down of Washington Drive that's still there. And for those of you who remember going way back before the Chapman Heights Vaughn Shopping Center existed, there was a road that went from Yucaipa Boulevard out to Oakland Road that you could see for a long time afterwards. So I'm just curious to know if we're going to give it back to nature, or we're going to leave that road there.
Great question. The new alignment of Pendleton Road, as you can see on the screen, does align in a more traditional intersection there. So that is the proposed intersection to be completed with that project. With the upstream drainage improvements that are a part of how the low water crossing functions, we do anticipate having an access road for maintenance for those basins, but it will not be in the same state that it is today. It will be reconstructed and graded at that time.
Okay, perfect. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item number 13, 2023 Yucaipa Music and Arts Festival. Megan Wolf.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. While I can't guarantee we'll have George Strait at the 2023 YMAF, I can guarantee we'll use the 4 rooms from the La Quinta. With that being said, the Music and Arts Festival began in 2012 as a way to invite residents to reopening the Uptown and a way to invite people from all around Southern California to Yucaipa. In essence, we were putting Yucaipa on the map. The 2023 YMAF will be a 2-day event held in the historic Uptown on Friday, May 5th from 6 to 10 p.m. and Saturday, May 6th from 12 to 9 p.m. One of the goals of entertainment has been to secure headline acts that will draw these visitors. In July of 2023, city staff began working to book the entertainment for the 2023 YMAF with the intent of providing multiple genres of music. Staff worked with one talent buyer or agent to purchase Saturday night's headline entertainment because the entertainment industry is quite finicky, should I say? And you can't use multiple agents to go after one talent and get the best price. You have to use one agent, and your word is your commitment. So staff worked with Harbor Productions, a production and talent agent company that we have been working with for the past few years. And that's why this evening you will see that one of the recommendations is to waive the formal bidding process. One of the reasons staff is requesting to waive this bidding process is, again, because we can't work with two people at the same time. And in the past, staff has put out an RFQ to find talent buyers that we'd like to work with. And we've worked with quite a few and haven't had the success that we have had with Harbor Productions. I am excited to announce that Saturday's headline entertainment will be Ambrosia. Ambrosia is an American rock band formed in Los Angeles, California in 1970. Ambrosia had 5 top 40 singles. They are How Much I Feel, Biggest Part of Me, You're the Only Woman, and Holding On to Yesterday. And just in case you don't know those, I'd like to bring your attention to your screen, and I will play one for you. Well, if Ambrosia isn't your thing, or American rock isn't the genre of music you like, opening for Ambrosia will be a band that we have tried to get for over 7 years. It's a band that fits perfectly with Cinco de Mayo, and the band's name is Metalachi. They are the world's first and only heavy metal mariachi band. They are from Los Angeles, and the 5-member band started out as a classically trained mariachi musicians, and now they are the world's first and only heavy metal mariachi band. I won't be playing any of that music for you this evening, but I look forward to seeing you there on Saturday night. Opening for Metalachi will be a local band known as Southbound, and they are a Leonard Skinner tribute band. On Friday night, opening the Music and Arts Festival will be the San Bernardino Teen Workshop. The San Bernardino Teen Workshop is formed of over 40 high school students, and they play everything from classic rock to today's hits. They will impress you with their talent. Following the San Bernardino Teen Workshop will be Elevation, a U2 tribute band. Ending Friday night will be Light Balance. I'm gonna show a brief video of Light Balance. Before I play that, I'd like to say that Light Balance is a high-tech neon dance show known for competing on the 12th season of America's Got Talent. Nothing says art quite like a light dance music show. The entertainment will be free. However, 300 tickets will be sold for Saturday's event. They will be a VIP experience, and the revenue will go to offset the cost of the festival. The Kids Zone is an area in the festival geared towards youth between the ages of 3 and 14. And over the past year, the staff have seen a significant increase in the number of kids participating in the Kids Zones. Therefore, staff is recommending that we offer more activities, which would cost an additional $3,000. Currently, the Kids Zone's budget is $7,000, and this $3,000 request would bring that expenditure amount to $10,000. This event, the Kids Zone, or this activity at the event, will sell tickets, and the generated anticipated revenue is $15,000, and it will go to offset the cost, again, of the festival. Staff is working hard, and upon tonight's approval or recommendation from City Council, staff will release the advertising for the 2023 YMAF, which will include electronic marquee signs at the YPAC, website information, social media platform, videos, as well as banners over Yucaipa Boulevard, and working with the Yucaipa News Mirror for advertisement. In addition, staff will work to solidify radio advertisements. To help offset the cost of the festival, staff will work on sponsorships. It is budgeted right now that we will bring in $20,000 worth of sponsorships, and our Community Services Coordinator, Elise, has been working hard on that task. The layout and street closures are similar to 2022 and are outlined in the staff report. The one exception is that we are anticipating additional vendors this year, which will bring the road closure down to Yucaipa Boulevard and 2nd Street. And then it'll go Yucaipa Boulevard up to Adams, and then California Street between Avenue A and Acacia. The Uptown Association meeting was canceled for the month of February. Therefore, staff could not present this layout to the board. However, staff has emailed the Uptown Association, the businesses in the Uptown, to let them know about the layout and closures, and we'll meet with them at the next meeting to address any concerns that they may have. As a reminder, at the last meeting, their one concern was that they wanted vendors to be located in the center of the street for every festival that the city does hold. Therefore, staff has been working with a local company to get pricing for tents to be provided in the middle of the street for the vendors. And at this time, due to the increase in the number of vendors that we are anticipating, there is an increase in cost for this tent located in the middle of the street, and that increase is $4,000. And the original budget was $20,000. This event could not be possible without our community partners, and those partners are the Knights of Columbus, who help with the beer and wine garden. Currently, the Knights of Columbus have operated this garden since inception and have always shared with the city 50% of the profit. However, this year they are requesting that we supply a tent for them due to their decreased amount of volunteers. And in exchange for us providing a tent, they would take 40% of the revenue and give the city 60% of the revenue. The flower show is another amenity of the event, and we partner with Deborah Henderson to put on the flower show. The flower show brings people of all ages to enter into this free show, and they bring homegrown flowers, and they are judged and put out on display. Normally, they are located inside the YPAC. Last year, they were open and located inside the indoor theater. This year, we are looking for a different location, as we do want to provide an amenity inside in the indoor theater, and due to the large amount of bands, we will be using half of the indoor theater for hospitality for those bands. So at this time, the flower show will either be located outside or in the YPAC upstairs. The Gem and Mineral Society holds the Gem and Mineral Show every year at the at the YMAF, and they are located on Yucaipa Boulevard and Adams Street. They take care of all their vendors. They take care of all their marketing. They take the payment for their vendors. And so the recommended split with Gem and Mineral is 30% to the city and 70% to the Gem and Mineral Society. The revenue earned from this event goes to help continue the club in this community. The Chamber of Commerce helps with food and merchandise vendors. They help manage this component of the event by marketing and processing payment for all vendors. In addition, they have volunteers that help guide the vendors on the day of the event as well as at cleanup. The city provides tents, electricity, lighting, and a parking area for all vendors, and therefore staff is recommending that we share revenue with the chamber, 60% going to the city and 40% going to the Chamber of Commerce. The Rotary Club is volunteering their time to help manage the parking lot at the YPAC. That is one area that becomes very crowded and everybody wants a front row parking spot, and that area needs to be managed for bands, crew, production staff, and dignitaries. Staff will continue to work with all nonprofit organizations that are a part of the planning committee to execute the 2023 YMAF. And I'd like to note that there is a change in the attachment A this evening. It was handed out. The fiscal impact portion of the staff report remains the same, but the handout has changed. So a summary of adjustments to the budget for the Yucaipa Music and Arts Festival are that staff is requesting an increase of $3,000 to the Kids Zone and an increase in $4,000 to the vendor infrastructures. And the previously approved fiscal year 22-23 general fund budget included a net impact of $93,000. With the recommended changes, it will include a net impact of $100,000 for a difference of $7,000. Staff is recommending that council approves items 1 through 4 as in the recommendation, and I can answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Megan. Good report. Questions of staff?
It sounds fantastic.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Here, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to announcements. Does any council have any announcements to make?
I have, so the rodeo is March 31st and April 1st, right? So that's coming really quick. So the rodeo's coming.
Yeah, good announcement. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, moving on to closed session.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We do have one item remaining in closed session, and that is anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation. I don't anticipate that there will be reportable action after we're concluded.
Thank you, sir. I will now adjourn the city council meeting of February 27th, 2023.